Thank you, Hans. Welcome to the morning session. If this is the moment you realize you're in the wrong room, you can switch or just stay with me for the next 20 minutes. I'll be talking about how we created the next generation wayfinding kiosk maps for the city of Pittsburgh. A little bit about me and the company I work for. I think Hans just gave a very comprehensive overview. We have about 18,000 of people around the world, and 500 of them, including me, myself, working in New York City. We are engineers, designers in the built environment to deliver highway, aviation, urban planning, acoustic, geotech tunneling, facade, and all kinds sorts of projects, including, of course, GIS. I only have 20 minutes, so let's just jump right into this project. We started this project almost a decade ago. Our client is Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership and Oakland Business Improvement District, and the goal is to improve the city's wayfinding system that implemented in 1996. If you have walked around the downtown, you probably will notice the old signs. They are really outdated, and there's hardly any maps around that you can make reference to. There are many aspects of this project that I can talk about that is related to cartography, but I want to focus on the technical part. So here is a very quick background of this project. We had a lot of discussions, workshops with our clients, with our stakeholders to decide what kind of wayfinding system they want, what's the feel, the look, the color, the content they want to see on the maps. A lot of back and forth, a lot of discussions like, I want my stuff on the map, I don't want that stuff on the map. So it went through a really long discussion, and we came out with 3 kinds of designs. For Pittsburgh, on the very left one, the C1 street map kiosk. It's about slightly taller than I am, 8 feet tall, almost the same width of my body. With a map on it, of course, and some text directional information on the top. And the other 2 is B1, B2 directional signs, no maps, only textual information. And we also decided the color schema, the feel and the look of the map. Of course, we used the gold color from the city of Pittsburgh. That's also the color you see on the Steelers shirts. And we decided the fonts, and that's also the font that I used across the entire presentation. That's the font we're going to put on the map. Also some small icons, things like the walking guide, the transit, the north arrows, and pictogram at the very bottom right. That's a black and white simple sketch of the city major landmarks. We also decided where and how many we want to put these kiosks and wayfinding systems. In total, 34 C1 kiosks. A C1 kiosk is the one that has the map, and 98 B1, B2 signs, the ones that do not have the map, across the 3 neighborhoods of Pittsburgh: North Shore, North Side, Downtown, and Oakland. And to recap the task, to recap the maps that we have to work on, there are a total of 34 kiosks, and each kiosk has 2 sides, A and B side, and 68 maps. Each map needs to be heads up, so the north arrow is not always pointing to the up, and you do not have to twist your head or body to read a map. We also have 98 B1, B2 signs, and in total we need to provide roughly 3,200 pieces of text directional information, and each piece of the information contains 3 things. One is the arrow. If you look at the bottom right, that figure, the arrow pointing to the up, left, or right tells you which direction you should go, and the destination, things like Andy Warhol Museum, things like Carnegie Museum, and the walk minutes. How many minutes does it take to get to that destination? A little bit zooming off the C1 kiosk map, there are a couple of very typical map elements we need to put there. Things like the point of interest, POI, that is in purple, park and public space in green, some transit system, trails, street blocks, pictogram, river, and of course the labels. And for the map directional info on the map, we need to put those on the 4 sides of the map, outside of the map. Each piece of directional information contains 3 things. One is the arrow that is following the street grid, and if you're following this arrow, you can get to certain destination with certain amount of walk. Some miscellaneous elements, including the "You Are Here" icon in the middle of the map, the walk ring, 4 to 7 minute walk ring, and heads up north arrow. And very lastly, of course, the map legend to tell you what we are showing on the map. A traditional approach to tackle this task to create 68 maps, of course, we're going to do it in Adobe Illustrator. Everyone likes Adobe Illustrator so much. Of course, we set up the base map in GIS, collect all the data, shapefile database, put them all together, make it nice looking, and then we run an export using MAPublisher to Adobe Illustrator. And from that point, everything will be manual. We will refer to the design intent package, find kiosk number 1, rotation degree 30. All right, let's move our map center to that kiosk, rotate our maps 30 degrees. And the next thing you have to do is rotate every single label. That's a lot of work. I think the worst part of the task would be the map directional information on the 4 sides of the map. You have to Google Map millions of times using the kiosk as the start point and your point of interest as your destination, and think about how many times you have to do it. And you have to put a tiny little arrow at the street exit and rotate it per the street grid. That's so much work, and there's so many mistakes you can make. Not to even mention you have to repeat it 68 times. What can be even worse is, oh shoot, we have changed the name of our point of interest. What's the new name of Heinz Stadium? Anyone knows? Still Heinz, right? That's something we have to change. I don't even want to memorize what the new name is. It's something with A. I don't care. We can build a new park. The Frankie Pace Park just opened on the top of Interstate 579. That's a new park. And lastly, shoot, we have to move this kiosk because they probably put a new water main next to the kiosk. We have to rotate it. Gosh, you have to redo all the maps from scratch in Adobe. So we have to come up with some smarter way to do it in an automatic way. The question to me is, can it be automated? Is it worth automating? You don't want to spend 5 minutes to automate a process that can only take you 20 minutes, right? And what tools we should use? To create a workflow that is resilient to random and frequent changes, to create a workflow that we can repeat easily again and again, and minimize manual work, because manual work equals to human errors. On the right side is the software that we come across to get this task done. I think many of the software, most of you should be quite familiar with. And I will lay out the steps in the next slides to show you how we set up the work stream for each component of the kiosk. Start with, on the very top, the text directional information in purple, the north arrow in yellow, the blue, the map part, the key part, the map directional information on the 4 sides, I shaded them in green, and the map template that includes the legend, the north arrow, the you are here, the walk ring. We set up a workflow for each component. The moment I make this slide is when I realized, gosh, it is quite complicated. But we carry those out, and I put the software icon on it to show you which software we used at each step. So let's jump into the map part, the part in blue, because this is a cartography conference. Everyone likes map, hopefully. The first thing is we take the KM file, the Google Earth file, that provided to us, and bring it into ArcGIS with the attributes of the location of the kiosk and the rotation. The rotation is very important because everything will rotate on the map. The next step is to set up the minimum required processing extent, because we have 0 time to process even 1 square inch of the geometry outside of our area of interest. So you see on the left side, that's the extent of all the kiosks in downtown and north side. On the right side, we did a little bit GIS cleanup. We downloaded a lot of geometries from county, state, city, and GIS portal. We put them together, laid them up nicely, put labels on them, and pictograms on them. And then we do the next step is to export it to Adobe Illustrator using MAPublisher. Just in case you are not familiar with MAPublisher, it allows you to import editable GIS datasets with attributes and georeferencing from GIS to Adobe Illustrator. Of course, they take so many more formats, but shapefiles and geodatabase are the two we worked with. It's really easy to do smoothing in Adobe Illustrator. Try to do it in ArcGIS using the editor. It's a nightmare just to smooth an edge. It takes forever. I don't know how many edges we have on the map, but it's just unlimited. Once we're happy with the cleanup, we bring the Adobe map back to ArcGIS. We can repeat these steps many times until we are 100% happy, satisfied with our geometries, and that's what we did. We did a lot of back and forth to make sure everything looks nice and correct because they will be installed on the streets. Last step in GIS is to set up the map layout with the correct size to make sure you can see on the right side the bleeding space, the extended scale fits well. And then I set up the map series in ArcGIS Pro. It is called the data-driven page in ArcMap in the past, and that allows you to bulk export maps with the same scale, same extent, but with different record of your data. The record here is the kiosks. So we are done with the maps. The next is the problematic one, the map directional information. Again, that's the direct text information on the 4 sides of the map. How we tackle this task is let's run an estimate how many routes we have to calculate. That's 34 kiosks and about 150 points of interest. As a total, we end up with 2,600 possible routes. That's so many to do to run it one by one in Google Maps. I know people use the Google Maps API. I used it. It's not that helpful in this particular case. So we turned to ArcGIS. We uploaded these geometries to ArcGIS Online and ran a calculate travel cost analysis. There's no coding required. Everything is pre-configured, just one click. So easy to do. Set up your origin as all kiosks, destinations as all point of interest, and do a walking distance following streets. What you get is on the right side, the vector lines that connect the origin, the kiosk, and destination. We got about 2,800-ish lines across the city. And each line will contain the attributes from both the kiosk and the point of interest, also the walk minutes. So the next question is how we turn these lines to the actual information, the arrow and the destination, the walk minutes. We used FME. That's the feature manipulation engine. I'm not sure how many people have used it. I love it so much. It is a visualized programming tool. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a software developer. I only took one Python class, and the only thing I could do nowadays is print hello world. So I used FME so often because everything is visualized. Things like else, if statement, tester, clipper, buffer, something like the model builder in ArcGIS. I'm not going to go through every single transformer on the top right screen. It's going to take an hour and only have 20 minutes. So I am going to visualize how we did this script to convert the lines to these arrows. Start with an example. Let's say this figure, the center of this figure is a kiosk, and the golden lines is the extent of the kiosk. And of course, I rotated a little bit to fit, to make sure it matches the design. You have top, bottom, left, right. That's how when you look at a map, top, left, right, bottom, everyone can read the map, right? Let's zoom into this red triangle slightly. The golden line, remember, is the extent of your kiosk, and the green line is the route generated by ArcGIS Online. And then let's zoom in this a little bit further. From the design package, we knew that this kiosk needs to be rotated 340 degrees, right? And then we asked the FME to run an intersection. Give me the intersection points of every instance when your map extent cuts the routes. Give me that point. And FME is able to provide you that point as well as the angle between the two lines. So I now know the angle between the two lines is 80 degrees. And then let's run some math. I would know that this route is pointing towards 60 degrees. So I will add this 60 degrees information to that intersection point. And then I have FME to write out all the intersection points as shapefile and load it in GIS. I change these shapefiles symbology to that arrow and have that arrow rotate per the angle I just calculated, which is 60 degrees. Now it is following the street grid, right? The textual information, the US courthouse, Amtrak station, Greyhound station, these are also processed in FME. It's a bit processing to make sure that they are formatted correctly. So it is destination, walk minutes, space, destination, walk minutes, space. A little bit more nuance to this task is we want to make sure the texts are always staying outside of the map. We don't want them put into the map. So if it's text directional information on the right side of the map, the text needs to stay on the right side of the map, and vice versa. So that's slightly a bit more processing. Then the north arrow. The north arrow requirement is a bit special here. Our client does not want people to twist their head to read NSWE, which means when you rotate the symbology of the north arrow, do not rotate the characters. That's a bit special requirement. And we also tackled this task in FME. And lastly, create the template Adobe Illustrator frame for each kiosk maps. That's 68 maps. The template contains the frames in the black on the 4 sides, the "You Are Here" icon in the middle of the map, the 4 to 7 minute walk ring, the legend, the north arrow placeholder, and some icons. Then we export the GIS map we prepared in ArcGIS Pro to AIX format. We used a plugin called ArcGIS Maps for Adobe Creative Cloud. It allows you to export AIX format that preserves the vector layer editability as well as the layer structures. So everything, if you lay it out nicely in GIS, it will lay out nicely in Adobe Illustrator. A little bit more Python is required to run this step. Sorry, I lied. I can do slightly Python to write a script to bulk export the AIX format 68 times. And then we assemble them in Adobe Illustrator. Open the AIX export, open the template, paste in place, and you have the final map. Inevitably, you need to do some QA/QC. Things like this Branham Street, we're looking at it, we're like, should we put it on the map? It is like nothing in Google. On a street view, as if it's a phantom settlement. If you were in Pan's keynote speech yesterday, it pretty much looks like that to me now. And then the bookway, it is fenced. I think you can go check out in downtown by Wood Street and Fifth Avenue. It's fenced. Shall we show it? We do not know. There's a lot of back and forth to make sure we clean these up. And lastly, we got 68 maps. Try to maximize the automation, get as much as possible done in GIS, and try to identify the manual edits that we have to go through, and we make sure we set up a standard workflow to tackle these edits to make sure they're consistently carried out. Even they are wrong, they're consistently wrong at the end. Sorry, I think it's a correct map. If anything that is not correct on the map, we say it's a phantom settlement. So yeah, I don't know how many maps I've gone through, 68 of them. Have you seen all of them? I don't think it matters. I don't have enough time to talk about the text directional information, but that's 3,200 pieces of text information we have to generate. But the concept is very much similar. Do it in ArcGIS Online and then process them in FME. There are some nuances to it as things are slightly different for this task, because if you put a text directional information near the intersection of a cross, and if you open Google Maps, say, I want to go to Andy Warhol Museum, very likely the Google Maps will tell you, go forward 10 feet and make a left turn. But does this 10 feet forward matters to you? No, the general direction should point you to the left instead of going forward. So there is some extra processing required in this case to make sure they are showing the correct direction. Again, my favorite, the FME script to tackle this task. If you're really interested how we carry this out, if you want to know more about FME, we can chat after this session. And very lastly, some manual QA/QC. We generated an Excel spreadsheet with hundreds, thousands of lines with sign type, phase, arrow direction, sign number, walk minutes, and what destination that you can go to with the information. So I was told that you have to put a cat slide in the chat. I had a better Pittsburgh photo I took up on the Washington Mountain, but I changed to this cat at the last minute. And it has Pittsburgh steel scarf on it. So at the end of my presentation, Hans, I probably can take one question, right?
Time for one question.
Yeah, just one question, and we can chat on Slack or later on. Yes?
My question concerns how you determine the site location actually physically on the ground, because that's probably the biggest part of wayfinding that can't necessarily be automated. Do you walk that with city officials, or
so
the actual determining where you're going to put the signs at intersections?
Yeah, I assume everyone can hear this gentleman's question. The answer is we have a very high-level study on this city and to see where the kiosk maps should be placed to better fit the need of the pedestrians. And we have a local partner with us to go through, to ground truthing every single location that we plan to put something there, and they will take a picture and say, hey, this is a good spot. I think I have a photo of it at the very beginning of the slide. That is ground truthing the site. So, can I find it? I can't. If there's no more question, I will. Oh, yes.
How did you decide on a black background for these maps? Or is that appropriate for people looking at the map at night, for example?
I think it will be illuminated, so it should be bright enough to see on the map. I would say this part of the process happened before I graduated from college, so I'm not sure how to answer this question. And I think it's okay to say I don't know, not to know, in a question like this in your conference.
Yes. Are the kiosks already installed?
They are not, but I was told the timeline last time I heard, no guarantee, because now the project is with our client. They said next summer, so that's what I heard. Not guaranteed. Don't take it. Don't record it.